Wow, should have done that before we started rolling.
That's all right. We can cut it here. We're starting now.
Nope, can't edit audio.
We have so much to talk about. I can't believe it's only been a week since we did the last podcast
Yeah?
because I was noting down like the things we've done, and it seems like a lot more has happened in the typical week. Not like anything earth shaking, but
No, but,
just yeah, it's a busy time. When is it not? When have we ever come on this podcast and been like, yeah, not much to talk about? I mean, I
nothing
guess
going on.
maybe when we were in Florida for the
Yeah, we
holidays
did.
is about
We
it.
did do
but
that one on the dock. Yeah, well, let's get into it. It's Adrian and Justin's music podcast.
Music Life Weekly, that's what we call it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Why don't I take top billing on that?
You do.
I do take
It's
top
Justin and Adrian's Music Life Weekly.
Okay,
it's
good.
not Adrian and Justin's Music Life Weekly.
billing? I don't know.
Well, I like to give you some credit when on the odd occasion that you can be you can take top billing because
Off chance I deserve it. Yeah.
I usually take top billing because I'm more important being the front person to everything you do.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. I am sort of the star of the show, for once. Yeah. So what to start with?
Well, I've got my notes kind of
Let's
in
just go in
chronological
order.
So yeah, 1 week ago today.
So we've talked about several times the ideas that we had to do these inside track things,
Mhm.
and right after we did the podcast from last week, we did an inside track class, whatever you call it,
Panel.
with Eric Golden, who's been on the podcast, and obviously a very good friend of mine, and we've worked together a bunch. We did that
Mhm.
record together. And Eric was there to talk about basically going from being a Performance High student and doing the Performance High showcases when they used to be a lot smaller. It used to be
Yeah.
more solo artists and stuff. And he went from, and doing open mics and so on and so forth. And he went from doing all of those things to now playing 250 gigs a year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or as Eric cannot help himself from pointing out, it's more like 247.
I think he corrected that it was more like 230
I know.
so far this year.
Yeah.
With 2 months to go.
He cannot.
He's so modest.
He is so incredibly modest.
It was a great conversation. We had some good attendance. We had great questions. People really got a lot out of it. I'm loving all this new stuff we're offering at Performance
It
High.
was like a college course.
It was it was a gold mine of advice.
It absolutely was. And pardon the pun, but it was just he had so many great points about the things that he did, and then we talked him through it, and just the things he thought that were the most important things and the steps, and what he felt like his big break was, and just so many things. It was just really, in fact, a gold mine of, like, if you want to be a professional gigging musician, this is basically everything about that.
Yeah, and specifically front person, because there are people like Nate and a lot of other Ryan. A lot of
that's
people
such
we
a
know
good point, right?
And Brian. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of the musicians we know
Right.
are sidemen or like
Right.
they're hired guns.
Yeah.
And then Eric is a front person, so it's his project. He owns it. He runs it. And so he's not bopping around finding work with other people. He's creating the
That
work
is
himself.
such a good point. Yes.
Yeah.
That is more rare, and not only that, I mean, I give him a lot of credit because he created the job he wanted,
Yeah.
in the sense of he's not just doing, oh, this is the popular material that I think people want to hear, or I'm going out and doing the wedding corporate thing, and there's these kind of like standards,
Mm-hmm.
and you just do the standards. He decided what he wanted to do, and he built a career for himself doing that.
Yeah.
And
a very specific niche of music,
and
a genre.
Yeah, and he's so he was so nice to just, like, I mean, he like spilled the beans on everything.
I know.
And we talked money, and we talked how to get raises, and how to all of those.
Yeah, we talked about band dynamics, finding musicians,
Yeah.
booking that first gig, increasing your like working your way up the venues,
Yeah.
chart making, rehearsing, cueing, band leading. I mean,
It was
booking emails. I mean, it was everything. And if you would like to listen to that recording, we're pulling everything together into a library where you can
Right.
access the stuff later.
So you're gonna be able to.
If you're seriously interested right now, just contact me directly and we'll figure out how to get it to you.
Yeah, one thing that struck me when we were, packing up and stuff, I absolutely love hosting those things.
You're good at it.
Somewhat randomly, I've hosted the last two,
Mm-hmm.
partially because you're a better tech person. So for the first one, I was the host with Tony Mason.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Eric I know really well, so it
Yeah.
made sense for me to do it. I just love doing it.
You're great at it.
Yeah, it's really
I think
fun.
we have this thing set up well.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot to get through, and it is already late. So I'm going to push us through to the next thing on this long list of things we did this week. Tuesday. So that was Monday night. Tuesday, I had my last day of water skiing for this year.
Yeah.
With True Blood. It was warm. We went at like noon, and it was like 70 degrees. So it was
We
gorgeous.
have not had much cold. I mean, I'm wearing a jacket, and actually, I'm going to take it off. Hold on. This is bad for audio.
Yeah.
I
Shake.
can hear it. Yeah. Yeah, that was dumb. Yeah, so we've not had a lot of cold, and but you had to hang it up at some point.
Yeah, got that last run in, and then on the weekend we pulled the course and the docks out of the lake
Mhm.
with a whole crew of people, which was kind of fun. Yeah. Then Thursday I had another church gig, and this one went so much better than that whole like 4 series of gigs that I had. I don't know, the week before or something. But I got enough sleep and I got enough rest,
Yeah.
and I just felt on my game again, and I was prepared, and the service went great, and it was really fun. So not much to say there other than that, like, I have my brain back. It's really nice. Really nice feeling.
That's what we were saying before. I think that was your whole problem at that one that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It was just you were just overloaded and tired, and
Yeah.
no one can operate great in a state of burnout.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And then
that same night.
That same night, so you were doing that, and I helped set up Nate, friend of the pod, to do his music theory class. And the plan was I was going to teach the hard rock band while Nate was doing the thing. But first I set Nate up, and then I went over there, and then a bunch of cross communications. I didn't wind up teaching it. So I got to actually sit in on a fair amount of Nate's class.
Mm-hmm.
I played drums a little bit with one of the guys, and then I got to sit in on the class. I thought it was another really valuable education thing that we've put together. Nate did an amazing job of breaking down all these songs and talking about the music theory and just making it really accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from the reactions of the people that were there and online, everybody was on the same. People were going like, "Whoa, I get it."
I remember like the reactions I was seeing of the people in that room were similar to when. So I was an adult. I was in a band, and I knew how to sing and I knew how to read sheet music, but no one had ever told me about chords in a key.
Right.
I mean, I took 5 years of piano lessons and I did not know which chords were in a key.
No, they don't talk about
or
that.
what a chord progression was.
Right.
And my guitar player in my band told me what diatonic chords were, and I was like, oh my gosh, mind blown. It's not as complicated as I thought. I can write a song.
Uh-huh.
That's what I was seeing in these people. So Nate, good job.
And well, and that's even how Nate ended the class, of being like, going around the room and being like, hey, tell me an order of chords. We won't get into it, but tell me an order of chords and I'm going to play them back to you. And you can see how that's a song, buddy.
Yeah, just pick some numbers. Yeah.
And I was on Zoom in the other room, and I was like plinking out little melodies over it. And I was like, hey, here we go. Let's go.
Nice.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Great class. And that was really great.
Yeah. We're really getting into the swing of things with the classes.
Yeah, I think so.
Figuring stuff out. Let's see. That was that night. And then
that was Thursday. And then Friday, we went to, at least my favorite venue, the Mission Ballroom. in
Right by the studio.
In Rhino in Denver. Uh, Man, what a great venue. Anyway, we went to go see the Midnight,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of a band you like
Mm-hmm.
quite a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and then they were opening for them was a band called Girl Ultra
Yeah.
from Mexico City, which is in Mexico. Which you have to say
Thanks.
because like Kansas City is in Missouri, so like
Kansas City spans Missouri and Kansas. Did you know that?
I did know that, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now
Yeah.
I look like the stupid one.
No, we're trying to do entertainment here.
And I'm always pointing out what's wrong.
Yeah. No. Anyway, that was pretty fun. Girl Ultra opened. I thought, I mean, they were very cool. The music was extremely cool.
It was very creative.
The sound was not good.
No, her voice was amazing. Loved her voice.
Voice
the
was
lead singer's
amazing.
voice. She was gorgeous.
Really great
Oh my
drummer.
gosh, loved how she dressed.
And he was the outfit was
Oh,
killer.
so cool. I want to wear that outfit.
Yeah.
It was like a floor length vampire cape costume jacket.
Yeah,
It's like a duster, a long duster, I guess is what you would call it.
Right.
Oh, so gorgeous.
And belted, and it was great. And then the drummer was really cool because he was playing a very untraditional kit. He had mainly like the hi-hat and then a sample pad, like an electronic thing that would give him sounds,
Mm-hmm.
and then a cymbal or two. And because they were kind of electronic sounding.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard with opening bands sometimes. You never know. They may not have gotten much time to check. They may not have.
Yeah.
It might not have been their normal sound guy for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? It really wasn't terrible, but it did take me out of it.
Yeah.
And then they did a song in the dark, which was...
That was an odd request.
Yeah. She asked for the stage lights to be brought down, and they kind of dimmed them, and she was like, no, all the way off. And so they turned them all the way off, and so for a couple minutes, everybody was just standing in pitch dark.
Yeah. Well, she sang a song.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was a good call.
Yeah, I don't know that it worked great. I can almost see, like, if it was shorter and it was the main band you came to see, I think there could be a cool thing of, like, let's turn all the lights down and let's stop looking at stuff. Let's just feel and let's just blah, blah, blah. You could probably pull something off. In that case, it was just, But the Midnight were...
Oh, there's a great show and... great performers, and they were a lot more rock than last time that I saw them. They're an 80s synth pop style band, like think Miami Vice. Yeah. But they opened the show with a good half hour of much harder rock. It wasn't hard rock, but harder rock than they typically do.
It was, it was certainly great. Very high energy.
I loved it.
Lots of guitar solos.
Lots of sax solos.
Lots of saxophone solos. Apparently, they've built up a thing for themselves where the saxophone solos are something the audience likes a lot.
There were a lot of people holding blow-up saxophone toys.
I guess you could buy them at the merch table, maybe.
Oh, that makes sense.
But people were, the sax player was in the back playing keys on most of it. And then when it was a solo, he would come up with his saxophone. And people would lose their minds. And we've talked about this before. It's just like how people go nuts for the concept of saxophone. He's not even playing yet. He's just walking up with the saxophone, and people are like,
yeah! The concept of saxophone!
Oh my gosh, there might be brass. It was, and I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to go on record for myself. It was a little saxophone heavy. Like, it was a lot of saxophone soloing. And it was annoying me how much people were enjoying it. I was like, this is like the 10th one. I mean, I getting hyped up for the first 5, 6.
Right.
We're now on, like, big saxophone solo number 10.
Uh-huh.
People are losing their minds. He, like, got off the stage and walked through the audience.
Oh, that's right.
And,
yeah, it
was a whole thing. All that to say... Not a band I'm super familiar with, although I knew more of their songs than I realized. I think there's a bunch of their songs where I just didn't know that was them. Like I'd heard it places. So I was more familiar than I thought, but I was blown away by their show. The movement around stage, the way they reset stuff, and they would, the person who was on stage left would wind up on stage right, and they constantly were creating different looks on stage. which I was blown away with. It was an incredibly professional show,
Yeah.
and great songwriting. And gosh, did the audience know all of the words?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty great.
Especially that last song. Midnight, no regrets.
Yeah,
Anyway.
which I also didn't know that was, I just didn't know that was them. I knew that song.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. And then Saturday, we
Yeah.
had a show at an amazing venue up
Oh
in
my
Greeley.
gosh. Is that the biggest venue the Petty Next Experience has played? Indoor venue? I think it might
I
be.
think it might be the biggest indoor.
It was 3 levels, so there were 2 balconies.
Yeah, there was floor seating, and then there was a balcony, and then there was a higher balcony.
I felt like I was the singer in Fifth Element.
Yeah, right, that movie. Yeah.
Like before we started and we were just setting up, and I like walked out and I saw like these balconies and then just this huge span. I was like, I'm gonna be standing on that stage.
It was a little
You know,
dizzying the way it
it
went
was. It
up,
was
and you were
so
like
high.
looking out, and it was like very high. There was no one in the balconies. But I was really amazed how well that show went.
Yes.
And I have to
Yes.
say, you said it too. Both of us were so proud of how the band performed,
hmm
even with, I mean, it was a good sized crowd. It was a great crowd,
It was a great crowd, especially for playing in a new market.
especially for playing in a new market. But it wasn't filling up the room,
Yeah.
and we gave them our all,
And we won them over,
and we won them
and it
over.
didn't take that long. I mean,
It did not.
most of them were on their feet at the end of the show.
Yes, it was, I would say, standing
Yeah.
ovation level. I would even go further. I think we gave more than 100%. We gave 110. We were like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
this is just not a full room.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to make sure you have a good time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and
we
we
did
pulled it
s-
off,
we
and I
did
was
so great with
really
that.
proud of people. There were even a
Yeah.
couple moments I pulled back a little bit. We were getting a little jammy, and people were getting a little too into it. And I was like, guys, we got a long way to go. Let's pull it back just a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
But we also had the highlight of eating out before the show. We went to,
Oh,
what was it called?
gosh.
Stella's? Is that what it was called?
It was called Stella's,
So
and
right-
we have to thank Eli from Bandwagon
Yes,
Productions.
Eli
He
Corliss.
treated us like we were royalty.
Oh my gosh, he was so nice.
Yeah, and the facility. Anyway, we went over to this place, Stella's. It is downstairs from the Moxie Theater,
Mhm.
and just amazing food.
Yes.
It's an arcade themed place, so they actually have like an arcade with all these old video
Yeah.
games and pinball machines and whatever, and they have some tables that are like they have plexiglass over them, so you can eat on it, but it's a video game,
Yeah.
like one of those console
The
video
sit-down
games.
video games,
Sit-
yeah.
yeah. But gosh, the food was
Oh, man, I mean, just burgers and sandwiches and stuff, but really like handmade patties, really creative and yummy. And let's see, the fries were so good. The Cajun fries. I got the Cajun fries.
and the bread was even great.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Every ingredient was great.
I was really impressed with Greeley overall. I think
Mhm.
that is a town that's on its way up.
Yes.
And then my intern Amaya was there,
Right.
and she was guitar teching for me that night because it was a very big stage. So I was a little concerned about
Mm.
how quickly I could get over and change guitars. So she was handing me guitars basically, and keeping them in tune,
Mhm.
which helped. But we got a tour of the Moxie Theater, and I was able to introduce Amaya to Eli, who owns the Moxie Theater, and they got connected. And now she's got that connected. She's going to school up in Greeley. She's gone to University of North Colorado for music production and music business, and she's just been there a couple months now.
Mhm.
But now she knows Eli, and
Yeah.
they're going to trade some emails about some opportunities for her to work there.
And she's a go-getter. I think
She is a go-getter. She is a very competent young person.
Yeah.
And that was the most fulfilling thing. I was like, all right, look, we accomplished something today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like, Eli was like saying something to Vic and was like, so I'll give you a tour. I was like, stand up, we're going. This is your chance.
Wish I got that tour. I missed it.
Yeah. And gosh, that was Saturday night. Drove home, went straight to bed, I think. And then I was at Global Sound Sunday working on a new project. Global Sound is a music school and studio that's up in Broomfield near the other Performance High
Hmm.
location, and really interesting project because it's a it's like a pop punk thing, but it's sort of an inverse Jonathan Greshler situation where Jonathan writes everything. Jonathan is a singer and he just writes everything just singing, and he gets it really exact, but like he has no idea of what the music's going to be. Um, Kevin works exactly opposite. He's a guitar player, so he just writes guitar riffs, and then he'll write like these like guitar two parts. So like guitar one is like the rhythm, and then
Hmm.
guitar two is like the higher stuff.
Hmm.
And very often those can be repurposed into vocal melodies.
Yeah.
So what we've been doing is Kevin had this song written with a bunch of guitar riffs and we arranged it, and then we were going through and sifting through a lot of his ideas. Um, and then at some points I was just singing stuff at him, like, where like, do this, and like, and miraculously he was able to interpret what was coming out of my mouth because I'm famously bad at singing things. Uh, but we unbelievably in only 4 hours we put this thing together and we got the vocal melody on it, and it's going to go out to a few singers he's used in the past to. It's really not that weird though. We were saying last night, I've written a fair amount of stuff where I usually do it on piano. Not that I play piano, but you can have bass notes going on, and then you can plink out a melody, and then once you've found a melody, then you're like, oh, okay, let's find some words that
Hmm.
fit to these. I think even some Adrian O
Yeah.
stuff has
Yeah.
been, here's what the melody line should be, and then I don't know what the song's about, but
Yeah.
it was very hard in a way making some decisions, and we were shying away from recording anything permanent because Kevin was like, well, do you think it should be this part or this part? And I'm like, I can't decide because I don't know what the song is about.
Yeah.
So, every part you put in there kind of has an emotional shade, and I'm like, is this song sad? Is this song happy? We don't know yet.
Yeah.
So we're gonna see.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was what I did Sunday. Oh, and then I made chicken shawarma.
Oh yeah. You did great.
Pretty excited.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of us had ever had Persian cucumbers. I would go
Oh
out.
yes.
I would go out and buy yourself a Persian cucumber. Is what my recommendation is.
That is the recommendation of the week is Persian cucumbers.
Man,
So much better than regular cucumbers.
yeah.
Or American cucumbers? I don't know.
Well, let's not turn it into some nationalism thing. But yeah, they're so crunchy and snappy, and
Yeah.
just they don't have that watery flavor. I wouldn't say they have more flavor, but it's
They
just
have more presence.
yeah, more interest, I think you said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, to wrap it all up, tonight this semi truck is just barreling down the mountain.
Because I want to get on with the rest of my life. I've got so much to do. Oh my gosh.
This truck is out of control, and there's not a turn-off lane in sight, so we're just gonna keep doing it. Tonight we had our first rehearsal for a new Petty Nicks, basically, project. I don't know how you'd describe it.
It's a new brand or a new product made up of the same musicians.
Right. So it's all the guys and girl from Petty Nicks, and we are doing a much more standard, I would say it just a less branded, more generic dance kind of band,
Yeah.
corporate kind of band.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna find something. I think we're gonna find a hook as we keep working on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think All Things to All People is the best hook in the world.
No.
But it is interesting because we have the depth with Julian to do a lot of like 70s stuff,
Mm-hmm.
60s, 70s dance stuff, even 80s dance stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Julian's fully immersed in that world.
Yeah.
We're doing Benny and the Jets by Elton John,
Uh-huh.
Rich Girl, Hall & Oates. I mean, other people do these songs too, but it's interesting. And then we've got you, and you can kind of cover a wide range of stuff.
Yeah. And the funny thing about this is it wasn't very many podcasts ago that I said that I'm done being a front person singing cover songs because I don't want to fight for that position anymore. I feel
Right.
silly doing it. So this is really interesting. And so I was actually thinking about this on the drive home because I knew I would talk about it right here on the podcast. So I was kind of fleshing my thoughts out because it was really fun tonight. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And I think this just speaks to personal evolution, where when I said what I said on that previous podcast about I don't want to do those gigs, I feel silly. I feel like I've changed. I don't know, more mature or something. I was imagining my current self inhabiting my body from 15 years ago, my personality, like who I was 15 years ago when
Right.
we met in Urban Dance Theory.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
was thinking, I'm not that person anymore. Well, of course I'm not that person anymore.
And you
But
shouldn't be.
right. And that's why the concept of being a front person in a cover band felt like it didn't fit to me, because I'm not that person anymore.
I see.
But I just need to find the new me that is a front person. It's going to be less short, tight dresses.
Yeah.
It's going to be less like cutesiness. And it's going to be more power and more like jeans and more like jackets and stuff like that. There's just like that's how I'm going to fit this new thing. Because man, I had fun singing those new songs tonight. And I haven't been singing much in any bands for quite a few years now.
For a while. Yeah. I mean, you work on your voice, of course, and tune it up and stuff. But yeah, you haven't been singing for fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we have so much fun.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
I do 1 or 2 songs with Cody sometimes.
Yeah. And Petty Nicks
You know.
is, of course, a blast.
Yeah,
We're not
yeah.
saying that, but this was just getting out of the box. And the great
Yeah.
thing and the whole idea behind it is that is a in tune with each other
Mhm.
group of musicians.
Yeah.
We've played together for a long time. We've gotten a lot of stage time, which is even more important.
Mhm.
And then you guys, you and Julian and Brian Stax are so used to singing harmonies
Yeah.
that right out of the gate on some of these songs, like literally the first time we're running it, and you're just like, I'm like side-eyeing you guys, and it's just like, it sounds...
We didn't even communicate about the
You didn't even
harmonies.
talk about that.
We just came in and had these 3-part harmonies that were blending and like, yeah, well, obviously Brian's going to take that part, not Adrian's going to take that part. That's what we always do.
That's what we always do, yeah. And Ryan Skiles, keyboard player, and Brian Stax, keyboard player, they didn't even talk about dividing up what parts to do.
Right.
They just were like, I figured Brian would probably pick up on that part, and Ryan will probably handle that part. And Brian was like, I got the strings on that one because I figured you'd want to do the piano. And then there were places even where there was so much overlap where like, we were doing Benny and the Jets, and it has that crazy synth sound at the end.
Yeah.
That crunchy synthy thing. And Brian, of course, nailed it because he's unbelievable at nailing sounds.
Yeah.
And we were all just like almost doubled over laughing because he nailed it. And then like we were talking after we played. I mean, first time we ran through the song, and we were talking after we did it. And Ryan was like, "Oh yeah, I figured you would probably pick up on that part." So I usually do it, but I didn't start doing it because I knew you'd do it.
That's just like, it's mind reading. It's crazy.
It really,
Love it.
And I've noticed actually in Greeley that Brian and I have started getting some way, a bit that way with guitar, where I know where Brian is likely to change an inversion, because on guitar you can play a chord a bunch of different ways. And I know where Brian's likely to go, and I will go the other direction.
Oh my gosh.
Because Brian's probably going to move up here, so I'll go down to this one.
Oh my gosh.
Or I can kind of tell when he's feeling a little like having fun, and he's going to throw some stuff, and I'm like, oh, he's going to do it different. And like, which I have with Phil, who I've played with since I was 13, but where we will naturally pick complementary inversions. We will just somehow never pick the same way to play something. And it flips. It's not like I'm always low and he's always high. It's just like we know each other's tendencies.
Yeah.
So I bet I know where he's going with this. And I'm starting to get that way with Brian, where if Brian's going to play it a little different just because he's having fun tonight, like I know what he's going to do, That
is some detail work, some detailed observation, and some fast reaction on all of that stuff. I'm blown away. There's so much going on that I'm not even aware going on that's making us sound good.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a lot of what's so fun for me. That's why I don't mind, being in the back or whatever. Well, let's get on with our lives. We are sponsored this week by Persian cucumbers.
Did the cucumbers drop off a wheelbarrow of money this week?
The Persian cucumber lobby did. They were in a white BMW.
Of course they were in a white
I'm
BMW.
so sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh.
There's no reason the Persian cucumber people need to be Persian. It's just a name for a cucumber.
Maybe they're from Canada.
They could be from They could be from anywhere. You know, it's just a name for a cucumber. But yes, they did pay us handsomely. So go get yourself a Persian cucumber. If you get up to Greeley, go to Stella's. And we are sponsored, as always, by Performance High.
Voice and Music Studio.
And we will see you next week.